We are all familiar, I suspect, with the difference between justice and charity. Charity is giving away some of your time, talent, and treasure so as to help people in need. And no doubt, charity is an admirable virtue. It is a sign that the person has a good heart. Justice, on the other hand, is less about directly giving something away than it is about looking to change the conditions and the systems that put those people in such dire straits. No doubt, some of us may be familiar with the little parable used to illustrate the difference between charity and justice. There was a town situated on the edge of a river which found itself confronted every day by a number of bodies floating downstream in the river. The people in the town were kind-hearted and good-hearted people. They took care of the bodies, and those who were alive, they tended. Those who were dead, they respectfully buried. And they did this for years and years and years with good hearts. But through all those years, none of those good people ever thought of journeying up the river and to find out why all these bodies were floating downstream. The wounded, the dead, each day they continued to flow, but they never thought of going upstream to find the cause of all this disaster. Those people in the parable are good-hearted and generous, but that in itself did not change the situation that brought them wounded and dead bodies every day. As well, these charitable people are not even remotely aware that perhaps their manner of facing the situation, seemingly completely unconnected to the wounded and the dead bodies they were daily attending to, might in fact be contributing to the cause of the lost lives and the lost dreams, and that good-hearted as they are, they may be complicit in something that is harming others, even while it's affording them the resources and the wherewithal to be charitable. What is the lesson here, my dear brothers and sisters? The lesson here is not that we should not be charitable. The lesson here is that we should not be good-hearted. That's not it at all. One-on-one charity is what is demanded of us, especially in times of great disasters, especially when it is a matter of life and death, because we are human beings and we are Christians. What is the lesson? The lesson is that being good-hearted alone is not enough. Just because we are charitable may solve the problem, but does not really get into the root of the problem. It solves it perhaps for a time until the next disaster comes. It's a start, yes, a good start, no doubt, but more is asked of us, namely that few may realize that perhaps our very generosity itself may be contributing to a blindness that makes us support ways of doing things, systems which are to blame for the situation that brought these people in dire need themselves. But dear brothers and sisters, being charitable is not enough. When I was parish priest of our basilica in Manila, Mount Carmel Shrine, we were in charge of the Infanta disaster relief operation because the Carmelite fathers were missionaries in the whole eastern part of Luzon since 1947 until 1984, when we turned over the diocese, the entire eastern part of Luzon. We turned it over to the diocesan clergy. So I was receiving, coordinating charitable relief efforts. You would not believe what kind of goods we would get. We were made into a dumping ground. Gihimo mig basura. Unsa may gipanghatag? Longgawon nga dunay sequence. So maglunggahon sila sa pilapilan? High heels. Unwashed underwear. We were made into a garbage heap. And those people thought they were charitable? Here we see something even more disturbing. Now, my dear brothers and sisters, when we look then at the state of our country, when you look then at educational opportunities, the poor, they have so limited educational opportunities, our highly compromised healthcare system, our PhilHealth. We have a very compromised healthcare system. Pait kaayo, masakit kas Pilipinas. Pait yung kayo. I know how it is in public hospitals. You fall in line for eternity in the emergency room before they even give you a peek. And you're lucky if you get a room. Or you sleep on the floor, or you sleep on the corridors. Charity, yes, but have we even asked why things are this way? Why are healthcare systems highly compromised? Why are educational opportunities almost an impossible dream for those who are poorer, who are the majority? Look at our housing possibilities. People live in like dog houses. When you look also at employment possibilities, even before the pandemic, and we ask ourselves, is being charitable enough? Somebody said many times our approach to disasters is ambulance squad style. Doon na may emergency, haladagan that to, wow. We go there and then we help out until the next emergency. But we do not ask, why are there so many of things like this? Why did Central Luzon, why did these parts of the Luzon Island suffer so much flood? Have we asked, what causes this? What causes all this? People are raping our forests. People are cutting their trees. These parts used to be part of the diocese where Carmelites ministered to. We traveled to those mountains. And this is the problem. Charity and justice. This is what our approach should be, I think, anyway. So, my dear brothers and sisters, our good works of charity are good. Please don't get me wrong. They are admirable. And we have to come to the aid of people in disaster, no doubt. Especially people now who are desperate. Fine. But if we end just with charity, we might really not be looking at what causes all this. And that is why in a recent book written by Anand Giridharda, the book is entitled Winners Take All, The Elite Charade of Changing the World. In a rather unsettling assertion, the author asserts that generosity can be and often is a substitute for and a means of avoiding the necessity of more just and equitable systems and a fairer distribution of the world's resources. Charity is wonderful, but it is not yet justice. What is justice? Let's go to the Catechism. Paragraph 1807, the Catechism of the Catholic Church. What is justice? Ra ra ra? No. Justice is the moral virtue that consists in a constant and firm will to give their due to God and to human beings. In the words of Joseph Piper, the 20th century philosopher, it is simply that one person gives the other person what is due to them as human beings. That is justice. That is justice. We are good in charity, but have we forgotten something even more important, which is justice? A good heart, yes, wonderful, but it is not yet a good policy that really addresses the root of our problems. Philanthropy, wonderful. It can have us confuse it with charity. Because many times, what is asked of us is to check uphill what's bringing all those dead bodies every day, what is bringing down those wounded people down the river every day. My dear brothers and sisters, the author submits that public problems should not be privatized and relegated to the domain of private charity, as is often the case. Christiana Zenner sums this up by saying, beware of the temptation to idealize a group or idealize an individual who promises salvation without attending to the least and without addressing the conditions that facilitated the problem in the first place. When we live with unjust situations that violate people, we can be blind to our own complicity because we can feel good that we are charitable because our charity is helping those who have been violated. I'll give you a last example. Kapit naman Pasko. I am a good-hearted man who feels genuine sympathy for the homeless. As Christmas approaches, I make a large donation of food and a large donation of money to a local charitable agency. Further still, on Christmas Day itself, I sit down to have my Christmas dinner, but before that, I spend several hours helping to serve Christmas dinners, Christmas meals to the homeless. Admirable, isn't it? The charity is admirable. I cannot help but feel good about what I just did. And what I just did was a good thing, surely. But then, I support a politician or a policy, or I am part of a structure that privileges the rich to the detriment of the poor. And I can easily rationalize, I'm doing my part, I'm feeding the poor, and that I have a heart for the poor. Yes, even as my vote itself helps ensure that those who are not supposed to be in these places of administration are there raping our poor people blind, stealing them blind. Here, my dear brothers and sisters, therefore, few virtues are as important as charity. It is a sign of a good heart, but that deserved good feeling we get when we give ourselves in charity should not be confused with the false feeling that we are really doing our part. Blessed be ang mga Pilipino in many beautiful ways. We have been given so much talents, abilities by the Lord, like the good servant in the gospel. We should not be content by burying it under the sand. We have to give our best as a people. We need justice and charity, not only one. Let us pray that we grow then as we remember our brothers and sisters suffering in Luzon. Let's be charitable by all means, but let us remember our duty only begins there. We have to ask, why are so many of us poor? I end, ingon bitaw tong bishop sa Brazil, don't hold their camera. When I give money to the poor, they call me a saint. When they ask why the poor remain poor, they call me a communist. We need justice too in our country. We stand for the Apostles' Creed.